Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Eyes Open Dream. It's me, Lucas, also known as the Dream Alchemist. And I am here to help you live the life of your dreams. This particular recording, I am calling How to Make Your Dreams Come True. And over the next, I think there's maybe 10 different videos that I have in mind, I will be sharing a practice and some protocols to help you remember your dreams, learn from them, and to put some things into practice, which will remarkably transform your consciousness and bring you into a state of being and vibration in which you can literally manifest what you dream about. And when I say that, I mean literally what you're dreaming. You'll learn how to wake up in the dream and consciously create in your lucid dreams and have a memory of a place or a thing, an outcome that feels so real. And when you're in a high vibration, when you're feeling really good most of the time, and this practice helps you do that, that's part of what the alchemy is. Things have a way of showing up really fast in what we've come to believe is reality in our waking dream. So, thanks for joining. Um, this is the second video in this series. I recorded the first one a few months ago before I went to, or I think right after I landed in Costa Rica. I literally dreamed up this amazing place that I lived there. And I wanted to be immersed in the jungle. There were howler monkeys and toucans and macaws and cicadas and also construction on the house next door. And it was just too loud to to do the recordings there. So sorry for the delay in moving forward with the rest of these courses. But here we are. No time like the present. So I've created a kind of a PowerPoint outline to share with you all as I go through this talk. It will include much of what I'm gonna say, and in particular, some photos of what I believe to be proof that this practice works. I have been living this life for the last 5 years in particular. I somehow magically met a man about 13 years ago during a time in which I was really suffering in my life, who taught me this practice of learning in my dreams and transforming my consciousness, both in my dreams, how I felt about what I saw in the dreams, and how I felt about what had happened in my waking life, to the extent that I started feeling really great most of the time. And when we're in that state, what we're seeing and feeling, literally imagining, has a way of showing up in phenomenal reality in a way that most people would consider to be magic. And it's kind of hilarious in a way. I studied magic for over 20 years, really intensely. I was fascinated by people who somehow found a way to this knowledge and truth, these inventors, these authors, these mystics and sages and shaman who somehow knew all kinds of stuff. I studied their teachings for many, many years and became particularly fascinated with what happened with these people. How did they get to this state where they were receiving such clear guidance and information on a variety of topics, and it all felt so true? Some of these people were like Rumi, like Emerson, Carl Jung, Goethe, William Blake, Rudolf Steiner, Nikola Tesla, Edward Kelly, Jakob Bohm, the alchemists of the period of time, and say the 1400 to 1600s in particular. I studied all of that really deeply for several years. And what I found to be particularly fascinating, and I learned this actually after I magically met this man who invited me to learn this practice of following my dreams. The same man who brought me to the jungle to drink a brew called ayahuasca. I ended up working extensively with ayahuasca for, I guess, about 13 years, while at the same time following my dreams. When I came back home from wherever it was I was doing ceremonies, and continued to do this work in my dreams, even outside of the ayahuasca ceremonies. And over time, what happened is I learned how to transform my consciousness and how to connect with certain memories and feelings and beliefs that I had that were keeping me from living in a high vibration state in which I can manifest with ease. And I found that I was able to do that in my dreams and in my meditation with no more need for the ayahuasca. And for the last 5 years, I've been teaching people this practice. Not only how to remember, learn from, and follow your dreams, but various other practices, some of which I'll share in this video and many of which I'll share in future videos, to literally alchemize one's consciousness. And it turns out that this is what the alchemists of, say, the 1400s to 1600s, that's what they were talking about, and it was veiled in this artistry that they created, these paintings. At the time, there, certain things they weren't allowed to talk about. There were ruling parties that didn't want people to really have the truth and power. And so much of the wisdom during those ages was veiled in the artistry and the paintings of the alchemists. So this work is a lot about dream work. It's a lot about alchemy, inner mastery. And in a way, it's a lot about magic. It's a different kind of magic, a white magic, which it turns out you can really only do when you're in a state of love. And love, by its nature, wants to give, and it wants to help others along the way. And so it's in that spirit that I'm here with you now, inviting you to open up your mind and your heart and to take in some of this medicine that I'll be sharing with you in this video and the other ones on this channel. So, having said all of that, I am going to share my screen. Let's see here. There we go. So I created this outline for this course with some visuals, and in particular, some photos of what I believe to be proof that what I'm doing and what I'm sharing here actually works. The last 4 places that I've lived, in fact, 5 places, I think, that I have moved into, amazing properties that I've had the good fortune of living at, I saw in my dreams before I magically found my way there in phenomenal reality. This happened the first few times sort of by accident. I saw it in my dreams, felt it really strongly, saw it. It was a beautiful place and felt so good. And then magically I ended up being there. And the last couple of places that I dreamed up, I did so in a lucid dream. So, this particular video I am calling How to Make Your Dreams Come True. I'll be pointing to this practice of waking up in the dream and creating a memory of something that feels so real, so beautiful, that we feel it in our bones. And when we're in a high vibration state, feeling really good most of the time, it has a way of showing up. What we imagine shows up in phenomenal reality in our, what I call the waking dream. All right, so that was a lot as an intro. Gives you an idea what this work is about, what I am sharing in this talk and in future videos. So thanks again for being here. Without any further ado, let's get started. Here's an outline of the different videos that I plan to include in this particular series. I'm calling an introduction to the alchemy of dreamwork. I already recorded the first video, How to Remember Your Dreams. Again, that was a few months ago. And I'll recap that a little bit in this video. If this is the first of the videos of mine that you are watching, you'll get a good summary of how to remember your dreams. As I go through it quickly, you can find the previous video that I did in which I go into a bit more detail, if you like. So as you see here, these are the ideas of the different videos that I have. And I'm not even going to read them all, but you'll see here, it's a pretty thorough introduction to the alchemy of dreamwork. And if you listen to what I'm sharing and you follow what it is I'm outlining in these talks, you'll experience what I have and what thankfully a whole bunch of people who have magically found me in my travels all over the world the last 5 years. I've been able to share this practice with them and watch them move from suffering into love and living a life that they absolutely love, and increasingly so, regardless of what's happening in the movie around them. All right. So, how to remember your dreams. I'll just read these real quick. For each of these slides, I have included a quote from some of these amazing people who I have studied over the years, demonstrative of all of them being deeply involved in dream work. It turns out that these masters, these poets, these painters, these world changers, the theme behind all of these magicians was that they were following their dreams. They were literally dreaming up and imagining all sorts of things and bringing them onto the physical plane, connecting with what I call the divine, which showed them all sorts of things that they were able to share with humanity and literally change the world around them in really positive, beautiful ways. So Rumi was one of those people, one of my favorite people of all time. And this quote from him says, "Though we seem to be sleeping, there's an inner wakefulness that directs the dream and will eventually startle us back to the truth of who we are." Beautiful. All right. So, how to remember your dreams, real quick. The first thing is set your intention before you go to bed. I'm going to remember my dreams. Intention is everything. The next thing is calm the mind before you go to sleep. And that includes no media, ideally, not looking at LCD screens at least 2 hours before you enter into your dream process. I find binaural beats and hemisync tracks really helpful. They have a way of activating the masculine and feminine sides of the brain and calming us down, bringing us into a state in which we can clearly remember our dreams. Purify the mind by fasting and no food at least 2 hours before sleep. Right now, I am in the middle of a water fast. I spent 2 weeks in starting off this 40-day practice. The first 2 weeks of liquid only, I recorded 70 dreams. Super helpful information. I share a bit of more detail about just what that process was in an update video that I just posted recently. Something about not eating food and allowing the mind the full power that it needs, the fuel that it needs when it's not digesting things, really has a big impact. So at least 2 hours before you go to bed, I would suggest 4 hours before you go to bed, no more food. And to restrict really hard foods that take your body a lot to digest. And the very best thing is fasting, intermittent fasting, and even long fasts like the one that I'm in now, 23-day water fast, brings the dreams in like off the charts. Drink pure fluoride-free water. Eliminate marijuana, pharmaceutical drugs, caffeine, and processed foods. Vitamin B12 or B6. Lately, I've been using B6. Something about vitamin B6 seems to really make a difference. Melatonin, spirulina, and blue lotus tea are all things that are known to help with the dreams. I find turmeric as well. It's said that turmeric also helps to decalcify the pineal gland, chlorella as well. I'm taking all of that stuff right now, even though I'm doing a water fast. It's just giving my brain all that it needs for optimal functioning and to really, really cleanse that third eye so that the visions open up and we can have these experiences all night long or throughout the night, just like we're in an ayahuasca ceremony with no medicine required. It's a little different from an ayahuasca ceremony, but it's definitely deep visionary state. I use a voice recorder to record my dreams. I have that next to my bed. I use a separate handheld voice recorder that just has a push to record button on it. Some people use their phones with a voice app on it so that when we wake up, we remember our dreams. We grab that voice recorder and just talk into it, record a summary of the dreams. For me, it often happens 3 or 4 times throughout the night. And each time I'll grab that recorder, record the dreams for the first session, go back to sleep or into the dream state. A few hours later, I record some more, go back into it. A few hours later, record some more. And then, before I get up in the morning, I've got, 4 to 6 dreams very often. Conserving sexual energy and cerebral spinal fluid and bringing our attention to the third eye. Again, I speak in much more detail about all of this stuff in other videos, and we'll expand on it more in the future. That gives you what I consider to be my top 10 recommendations for remembering your dreams. So hopefully that helps. How to make your dreams come true is the focus of this particular talk. Quote from my man, Carl Jung. Oh my gosh, I have learned so much from Carl Jung over the years. Thank you, brother. He says here, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So the first point I make here in how to make your dreams come true is that you must know thyself before entering the temples of initiation. Throughout time, going back hundreds of years, there are different places throughout the planet where the pharaohs, the mystics, the spiritual teachers, the prophets would go. And there were sections in these temples, rooms specifically to dream. They would go to these temples and they would dream and ask for guidance and visions from the divine to help them lead their people and to learn whatever it was that they wanted to learn, and they would receive all kinds of amazing information. It turns out you can do this in your bedroom. And above the Temple of Delphi, for example, pretty sure it's the Temple of Delphi in Greece, maybe it was the Temple of Apollo. There was a sign, famous sign that said, "Know thyself." So before even entering into the mystery school and receiving the higher initiations, by initiations, I mean to begin, it's an initiation. It's not like you get the full on download everything in an initiation. An initiation is an opportunity to begin a certain track in teaching. And before that, before entering into the higher mysteries, you have to know yourself, deeply know yourself. And that includes the other 90% of your mind, the subconscious or the unconscious, that part of us, the imagination, the incubator of phenomenal reality. It's my belief that, in my experience, that every night when we go to sleep, that other part of our mind is doing its thing and creating what later shows up in phenomenal reality. And it's really, really cool when you can peek behind the veil and see what the other 90% of your mind is doing and seeing and feeling. And over time, one learns to re-enter those memories, those visions and experiences, and change them a bit or see them in a different way, to the extent that we start feeling better and better and raising our vibration. to the extent that we can start manifesting like magic. So I say here, leveraging the law of attraction is all about frequency. How you think and feel frequently influences your frequency. Transform limiting beliefs, thoughts, and behavior. And the dreams reveal what those are. Somehow, magically, this mystery, uh, the soul is what I call it. This part of me that apparently was with me before I came into this body and will be after I go. There's this part of me that I can connect with every single night. And in addition to this work revealing what's going on in my subconscious, in my experience, it's more than that. There is something divine that we can connect to, and something really loving about our soul, which shows us exactly what to do and the path for us to take and to course correct when the conscious mind is thinking it wants to do this, that, or the other thing, as they say here in the South, where I am here in the panhandle of Florida right now. It's one thing to learn how to manifest and to, to desire, to want things and to want to create certain things. Well, I've done a lot of that over my life. And now I'm in my 50s. I look back and I see, in particular, before I started doing this work, a lot of what I went after, for example, my corporate career of over 20 years, I was doing a lot of that coming from a place of fear and really not having as an amazing life as I could have if I had started remembering my dreams and connecting with this mystery, with the guidance of my soul. So this work is not only about making your dreams come true, making what you desire happen in phenomenal reality, but it's also about making sure that what it is you're intending to bring forth in your life is aligned with the will of your soul. And beyond that, the will of the divine. And what it is you came here to do in your life. Like, holy cow, what's more important than that? To find out and to be sure what it was you came here to do with this experience we call life, and to achieve that before we die. So let's see other tips for how to make your dream come true. Be truthful and choose your words carefully. In the beginning was the word. Words are so powerful. Over time, one comes to see the manifesting power of the word, and tracking our words, what we're saying out loud, and also what we're not saying out loud, what we're telling ourselves in the machinations of mind, largely affect what's happening and reflect it on the outside. Master your thoughts, breath, and life force. Again, sexual energy, mastering our sexual energy, this creative life force is a big deal. And lastly, for top 10 tips for how to make your dreams come true, imagine, feel it in lucid dreams as if it happened before it does. Let's see. We'll go to this slide here. So, as I mentioned, a lot of this is about alchemy and transforming our consciousness, how we feel, increasing our frequency and harmony. On this slide, there are some graphics here, which show the different states of brainwave cycles. And it goes from gamma, the superconscious, which we can attain over a period of time of practice. It's been my experience. It takes a while to really tap into gamma. And it's this work absolutely helps us get there and to start receiving absolutely amazing mystical insights and visions in that super conscious state. And beyond that are the more normal kind of brainwave patterns, starting with the beta brainwave state, our normal waking state, then moving into alpha and theta and delta. The theta and delta brainwave states are where we are when we're dreaming up everything that we're dreaming, which later shows up in phenomenal reality. So learning how to navigate within those brainwave states, how to bring ourselves there in our dreams and or in our meditation is absolutely necessary for the magic that I'm specifically sharing here. And this process and practice is an amazing way to help you master that. Let's see. Before I leave this slide, I'll read this quote from another guy I really like. Robert Anton Wilson says, "When the rose and the cross are united, the alchemical marriage is complete and the drama ends. Then we wake from history and enter eternity." So on this slide on the right here, you see the left brain and the right brain, the masculine and the feminine. So much of this work is about bringing healing and harmony to our perception of the masculine, bringing healing and harmony to our perception of the feminine, bringing harmony and wholeness to those aspects of our own consciousness within our own being and literally within our own brains. So much of us are hyper polarized in one direction or the other. In modern age, most people, whether they're men or women, are over masculinated. They're thinking all the time, ruled by their thoughts, living in a world where they've got 100 emails a day and all this stuff they're reading and all this data everywhere, believing what they think. As the Buddha, it was attributed to the Buddha, I think. Someone once said that the Buddha said that the root of all human suffering is that people believe what they think. So softening that, letting go what we think we know is huge. And for us men in particular, nurturing ourselves, connecting with the feminine, spending more time in creative activities, maybe playing music, all sorts of stuff that bring that feminine essence into balance. And dream work is a wonderful way to do that. We're bringing ourselves into a receptive mode, bringing our minds into a receptive mode. Instead of doing, we're receiving. And something about bringing the masculine and feminine into balance brings us into this state where the pineal gland, the third eye, which interestingly looks like a cone, kind of looks like a phallus, And then there's the pituitary gland, not far from that in the brain. And it kind of looks like a yoni. There's something about those two being in balance, and the fluids going up to those higher centers, both energetic and physical fluids, the cerebral spinal fluid, where the pineal gland and pituitary gland start firing together, where the heart and the mind are in coherence. And we can experience what has been described in various traditions as the alchemical marriage, this amazing mystical experience, which, again, if you follow some of or all of or much of what I'm sharing here over the course of these videos will be your experience as well. And you'll find that you're living the life of your dreams. So I included in this slide some graphics to show you the alchemy of consciousness, which is really what this is all about. Again, going back to the work of the alchemists, their paintings. Some people talk about the transforming lead into gold. Well, yeah, apparently there were some people who were trying to do that physically. And that teaching is really an allegory for transforming one's consciousness from base level consciousness into higher level states of consciousness, transforming frequency of consciousness, our vibration, literally, to the extent that we create an absolutely beautiful life of magic and realize the Garden of Eden on earth. And frequency has a ton to do with it. So this chart that you're seeing on the left here shows, and this is Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness. Man, Dr. Hawkins, thank you so much. All of his books are amazing, and what he is doing and sharing with the world. Hallelujah. So this is his chart here. He has mapped different feeling states and assigned a frequency next to it, going from 0 up to 700. And it turns out that when we are living more and more in the higher frequencies, the higher states of consciousness, we start experiencing more magic and synchronicities, extraordinary outcomes, and getting amazing downloads and teachings. This is that superhuman state that these people like Nikola Tesla and some of my other, I won't say idols, but some of these people that I really, really loved and was so curious about how they got all this information. This is where they found themselves to, living in a really high vibration state much of their life and receiving super clear guidance and information in their dreams, which they manifested in phenomenal reality. How energy gets stuck is illustrated in the middle graphic here. It's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of it has to do with experiences in the past. The way this work works with dream work in particular is once we start connecting with the dreams, our soul will show us experiences, memories, stuff that happened in an apparent past that doesn't feel so good. The way that we're looking at it, the way that we're feeling that memory. If there's feelings of anger, grief, shame, apathy, etc., those are really, really detrimental states of consciousness which largely affect how long it takes us to create things. We can still create things. It's just a lot harder. It's not so much fun as when we're feeling really good most of the time and we're in the flow. So this work, shadow work in particular, and other tools, which I will share in future videos in more detail, helps us transform the way we're seeing and feeling what has happened in the past to move beyond a victim mode into understanding and reason, acceptance, and ultimately into love and embrace, gratitude, peace, and enlightenment. So when we talk about this stuff, a lot of what this is pointing to and working with is something people call kundalini energy. The graphic on the right here is showing what's known to be the 7 primary chakras. They are energetic centers within our bodies, portals. And if you look at all 3 of these graphics here, you kind of put it together. I just think it beautifully makes sense and helps sort of bring it home to see that there are certain energies that we're holding in our bodies. There's certain patterns of thought, behavior that are keeping the energy stuck in lower centers, keeping that kundalini energy from moving up and into the heart. The heart is the gateway. And when the heart opens up and stays open more and more and more, that energy naturally finds its way into the higher centers, into the throat chakra, where we start creating from a place of pure knowing. Maybe we start teaching or coaching. Maybe we write books, we write music. Maybe we invent stuff. This creative capacity and the beauty when that throat opens. And for so many people, that throat has been closed. I find particularly in my coaching work, a lot of women in particular, societal influence has restricted the full and open throat chakra. They've had experiences where they have lost their voice or felt that they couldn't speak their truth. Of course, this isn't women only. This is my experience as well. And it's really liberating when we start to open up that voice and allowing our creative juice to flow in the outward expression, motivated by love. So, yeah, I won't go too much more into all of that. I think I will in other videos, but this gives you kind of an overview. Another man I absolutely love, Wayne Dyer. Man, another beautiful, beautiful soul, such a loving man. Wrote a whole bunch of books, did so much good in the world. This quote that he wrote says, change the way you see things, and the things you see will change. This world, this imaginal world, is inside out. What's happening on the inside is reflected on the outside. And coming to really know ourselves through dream work in particular, which is my main expertise, in addition to a whole bunch of other tools for the transformation of consciousness, but really, truly knowing ourselves and transforming, alchemizing our consciousness has a way of bringing out an absolutely beautiful and pure experience in life. All right, so lucid dreaming for manifestation. As I wrap up this particular talk, this is the focus of this particular one. I've given you a bunch of backgrounder stuff, sort of to set the stage of the future videos I'll be providing in this intro to the Alchemy of Dreamwork course. Lucid dreaming for manifestation. I mentioned it before, a process by which we learn to wake up in the dream and consciously create stuff in our dreams to the extent that we remember them. There's a memory of a place or a thing, an experience that's so real because our lucid dreams are so real. We feel it in our bones. And when we're operating in a higher vibration state, most of the time, which basically is feeling good, feeling states of love and peace and joy and gratitude, most of the time, the conditions are set for magical manifestation. So we can create places and things in our lucid dreams. As I mentioned, the first few homes that I saw in dreams that I later found myself at in physical reality blew me away when that happened. And the last couple of, at least, I'm thinking it's actually been more. I think it's been three, two in Costa Rica. No, just the two places in Costa Rica where I consciously created these places, visualized them in a lucid dream, and found myself there on Earth in the same place, paradise, that I created in a lucid dream. So there's going to be a whole nother video that I create about specifically how to wake up in the dream, protocols for lucid dreaming. This is an outline here, an introduction to the alchemy of dream work, that this is absolutely possible. And a big part of this, again, is about intention, setting a clear intention, saying it out loud. Writing it down helps, making a vision board, or what I like to call an action board. Getting clear about what it is that we are calling in. And again, what's amazing about dream work is before we decide to create things in our lucid dreams, we can observe the patterns and what we're being shown in our non-lucid dreams. Very often it will point to a place, perhaps, for us to move to. For example, I had a dream that I bought tickets to Costa Rica March 16th. This is in 2020, before COVID broke out. I ended up buying a ticket and I arrived there in Costa Rica the very last day before they shut the airport down because of COVID. And then later, when I was there, I did a whole bunch of dream work and consciously created a place. And I'll share more about that specifically perhaps later in this video. Well, yeah, I think I have some videos of both of them, or some pictures of both of them. So the first one I want to share with you is the latest home I manifested in my dream in Costa Rica. This is, I guess, about 6 months ago. I did a 40-day dedicated practice where I fasted a whole bunch while I was living at my home here in Florida, where I am now. And prior to that, I got the hit in my dreams to go back to Costa Rica. So I started visualizing a place in Costa Rica, which I thought would be ideal. And I created certain attributes for that place. And for this place that I was dreaming up this time around, I wanted to be in the hills above Dominical Beach, the same place where I lived at this totally off the charts, amazing property for 2 years during COVID. I wanted to go back near where that land was that I lived for those 2 years. And I visualized it. I brought that into my imagination and my intention. I want to find a property near that magical place. I lived on the hill overlooking the beach. I wanted a main house, a modern main house. A lot of the places in Costa Rica and in my travels throughout the world, some of these homes are really not that modern. They might not have walls everywhere. Um, Mosquitoes come through. And sometimes it's dank and mildewy, and um, in the rainforest in particular. I wanted there to be a fully contained, sealed, modern feeling house with a nice kitchen, and ideally a guest house like I had the 2 years that I lived before on that same mountain. I rented two homes, and I rented out rooms in the second home that I rented there for people who came for retreats and people who were working with me doing dream work. So I visualized that. That would be just absolutely amazing if I was somewhere near, basically like what I experienced those 2 years before. Two houses, except the one house I wanted to be a bit more modern, even more comfortable, and the kitchen I wanted to be a more of a modern kitchen. So I visualized that. I definitely wanted a pool and a jacuzzi, a meditation deck, and a fire circle. A place where friends could come and we could have fires, sit around the fire, and sing songs. Um, so I brought that into my intention, and there were only 3 nights, by the way, that I woke up in my dream and consciously tweaked this particular vision, this place. This time around, just 3 nights of active practice, and it absolutely manifested. And I'll show you the pictures in a moment here. Now here, these last two things were things that I threw in there that were kind of a reach, and I have found that magic happens, and something about adding something that shows me for sure this is more than just like normal stuff. This is not coincidence. If I add something into my intention that is so out there and it shows up in phenomenal reality, then I know for sure that I am doing this. Something about my practice is actually influencing what's showing up in phenomenal reality. So there were two attributes that I added to this place that I was envisioning in Costa Rica. Again, while I was here in Florida, in the weeks before I was about to go to Costa Rica. And one of those things was a motorized desk that I could stand behind or sit behind. I'm working on a book, and had the intention of creating some videos. And I knew I'd be behind the computer a lot, and I wanted to be able to stand like I do at a motorized desk. At my home before this one here, I had this awesome office with a motorized desk that I could stand behind, or I could push a button, bring it down, and sit behind. I thought, man, that would be like absolutely amazing if I could create that. So I've consciously visualized that in my lucid dream. I thought, who knows? Even though this is like quite a remote place, it's 4-wheel drive only to get there, way up a mountain. To even get a modern home up there is a bit of a stretch. And yet I brought that into the intention, and also a red door. My dear friend Daryl, who owns this amazing property where I am here in Florida, has a red door at the main house, and something about that red door, it just feels good. And I just brought that in too. I thought, let's add a red door while I'm at it. It turns out I can dream up anything. So I added a red door when I was creating this place in my lucid dream. And here is the place that, as I wrapped up my 40-day conscious dream manifestation practice, in the week before I was to fly to Costa Rica, I I just got the hit to reach out to one of the only people who I knew in Costa Rica who's still there now. Literally, there's only like 2 or 3 people I'm friends with still in Costa Rica, even though I lived there for 2 years. We were in a secluded area doing retreats there, plant medicine retreats, and people would come for retreats and they would go. I didn't have much interaction with hardly anybody except for the people who came for retreats. But there was one lady who I met in town there magically, a really sweet lady who owned a store there. So as I'm wrapping up my practice, I sent her an email and told her I'm going back to Costa Rica. If you happen to know of anyone who has a home for rent, let me know. So she writes back and says, Lucas, I am now living in Canada. My property is empty right now. Maybe you would want to rent it. And I knew that she lived on that same mountain, this magical place that I lived, overlooking the ocean, tropical paradise, off the charts, amazing. I had never been to her home before, but I knew she lived, not that far from where I lived for those 2 magical years in 2020 and 2021. So I said, Ruth, will you send me some photos of the place? And this is it. These are the photos. It turns out there's a fire pit, much like what I had visualized. There's a pool with an epic view. There's this deck, a meditation and yoga deck overlooking the tropical jungle. Absolutely amazing. Here's the kitchen, a nice modern kitchen in the modern main house, totally enclosed with air conditioning. Everything worked. And the kitchen was modern, fully equipped. The whole place was fully equipped. In the backyard of the main house, there was this jacuzzi. And there's a picture of the living room in the main house. Just a nice modern place. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. So I saw all of this when Ruth sent me the photos, and what got me when she sent it to me was this here, this middle picture in particular. When I saw that, and that's a photo of the guest house up on the hill above the main house, I knew this is it. A red door. Like, that's about as big and bright a red door as could be. There it is. In reality, on Earth, that's the red door I had imagined. And that told me this is the place. This is the place of my dreams. And it turned out that the main house, which is that photo on the top right, also had a red door. Not only that, but the side doors on both houses were red. And even the little doors you see here on the left hand side here on the upper house, the guest house, red cupboard doors leading out to the jungle. Now, if you look at that desk in the upper left and the bottom left photos, you'll see that even though it doesn't look like the desk as I imagined it, in function, it's just what I was dreaming up. That desk, if you look at the bottom left photo, you can sit behind it on one side and you stand behind it on the other. I ended up using that as my desk, even though that was the guest house up above the pool. The view was so amazing. And that desk was my desk. I created it. So that's the desk that I wrote from, with an absolutely amazing view of the jungle. You'll see there I've got my voice recorder on the desk there where I transcribe my dreams, record my dreams every night. Absolutely amazing, beautiful place that I dreamed up. And it happened to be called La Casa Mágica, the House of Magic. And this is literally what I'm teaching. It's a form of magic, white magic. Like absolutely amazing, epic. And this place, again, was on the hill overlooking the ocean, this amazing beach down below with really warm water that I love to swim in every day. Only a 9-minute drive from the property. So to me, this was proof, undeniable proof. I saw all of this in my dream. I modified what I saw. I created all of this with my intention. I imagined it, and it showed up on Earth just as it has several times before in a way that can only be described as magic. So again, part of this course and this teaching is a practice by which you will learn to manifest things in a magical way. And more importantly, you'll be able to make sure what it is you're dreaming up is aligned with the will of your soul and the will of the divine. And I think more importantly than anything else, you'll find yourself happy in the moment and loving everyone and everything and yourself increasingly for no reason at all. And the bonus is you may well have a full awakening and experience one's self as the awareness itself and start seeing and experiencing phenomenal reality from that point of view as loving awareness, as the eyes and imagination of God. So that's about it. Here's another. This video's already gone long, but here's the photos of the first place that I dreamed up there in Costa Rica. First saw it in a remote viewing dream. Ended up being invited to go to this property a couple of days after I had that dream and saw that place. I was invited to meet these people on this land, and there you go. That's literally where I got to live for 2 years doing ceremonies. I'm not working with ayahuasca nowadays. That might change someday. I have found that I'm able to do very similar work with people and for people, to help them see what is in their consciousness and in their memory that is inviting attention, transformation, to help them heal, help them move into a better feeling state most of the time, so that they start to experience more and more magic, more and more love, more and more amazingness in their life. So I could go on and on about what happened on this amazing property there, during those 2 years, while so much of the world was deeply suffering the whole COVID thing. We were there, no masks, having an absolutely amazing time, and also doing really, really good work with people who came to live on the land. for a week or two every month. So thank you. Thank you so much. A final quote from Walt Disney, another amazing dreamer. Holy cow. Someone who absolutely harnessed the power of imagination. Walt Disney. Look at what he created. And it turned out he was a big fan of dreaming. So this quote from him says, the best way to get started is to quit talking and begin dreaming. So this is my invitation to you all to start dreaming, to take in what I have shared with you here, sharing this from my heart. This is after a whole lot of years of struggling, studying, traveling all over the world, learning from different teachers and masters and shaman, and doing all this stuff, seeking. And somehow along the way, I magically met a man. I didn't even go out of my way to try and find him. He just showed up and told me he had a dream to meet me and to help me. And he taught me this practice. Now is the time for me to reach out and start sharing this with a broader audience. I can only coach so many people directly. And I am so passionate about this work. And I've seen it do so much good for people who I have been gifted the opportunity to share this teaching with, and the other tools that I will share in future videos. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I get to see people move from suffering in a state of victimization and hopelessness into loving acceptance, into joy, into ecstasy, and living the life of their dreams. That's not to say that all of us don't have ups and downs. I absolutely have. And what's amazing about this practice is we can continue to check in with our soul, continue to see what's going on in the subconscious, the patterns, to keep us on track and to keep us living in a beautiful reality. So it's with that intent I will wrap this video up. If this helped you in any way, if you learned some things that were helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you could leave a comment to let me know. If you have any questions, you can ask me questions. Um, at least for now, I've got time to respond to what you might send me. By all means, feel free to reach out that way. There's more info on my coaching website at eyesopendream.com. All of this is a work in progress. I've been living the dream the last 5 years. Things have magically worked out where clients have shown up. I've never done any marketing. And I've magically met people through my travels throughout the world. And I trust that the right people who are meant to go deeper into this work will find these videos at the right time in the right way. And if it feels like that is you and you want to go deeper and learn more, feel free to reach out to me and I will help you however I can. All right, everybody. Thank you so, so much. Keep dreaming like your life depends on it, because it does.